Hello and welcome back to Chasing Excellence, a show about chasing what really matters. My name is Patrick Cummings, here all by myself this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've been dipping into the show for the last few weeks, you'll know that we have a slightly evolved format. We're coming to you 2 days a week now, Tuesdays and Fridays, with shorter and more focused episodes. We certainly hope that you are enjoying it thus far. I know that I am, and one of the reasons why I am is that this new format gives me an excuse to go back through the archives on a somewhat regular basis. We're going to do this every now and again, maybe every couple of weeks, maybe slightly longer than that, because we've been doing this show for quite a while, and there are a lot of really good conversations in the archives that I would love to bubble back up to our collective awareness. This episode is a fantastic example of that. This came originally out in July of 2018, and it's actually the first time that Ben and I did an episode on parenting, which actually surprised me when I realized that. I thought we held off on parenting for longer than we did. Turns out, not so much. I love this episode for for many reasons, but for one reason, because when we recorded, I had a 15-month-old baby. And now, as I sit here in 2024 recording this, I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So that will tell you, if nothing else, how long we've been doing this show. So we talked through 7 parenting tactics that Ben had put, and honestly continues to put, to good use with his kiddos. We talk about building grit, developing a growth mindset, balancing vulnerability with complaining, or really not complaining, and much, much more. Thank you again for tuning in this week. Without further ado, here is a younger Ben and a younger Patrick talking about parenting. So the first one is one that I think is actually really interesting, and probably not many people sort of abide by it, which is spouse first, not the kids.
Yeah.
I can imagine that is almost controversial, but so I'm really curious what that means.
It was, when I first heard it, it was I didn't buy into it. I always thought it was like, kids are everything. They are your everything. You run in front of traffic for them. You do whatever you can. And you and your spouse are a team to try to help them on this journey through life.
Yep.
And it actually was brought up to me first by a friend of mine who's really religious. And he says that he told me that the Bible actually says the opposite way. The Bible says, love your spouse first, your kids second. I'm butchering. It's definitely, I'm paraphrasing it at best, right? I'm paraphrasing what he paraphrased, and I didn't read it. But essentially it says that it's about your wife, or it's about your spouse. And here's the reason why. And after I talked to my wife about this, and after I've lived with it for a little bit, it is so true. And the examples are everywhere. We see it now. The idea behind it is, if you love each other, if you have such a strong relationship, if you guys are so invested in each other's happiness, your kids are just gonna be a byproduct of that. Now, the reverse of that is, you're trying to work so hard to make sure your kids are like that, your spouse takes a second seat, and now there's, at worst, resentment, or there's a scorecard of who stayed up last night and who's doing the dishes and all that stuff. And if that happens, like, no matter what you try to do to invest into the kids, your kids see right through that. We see it all the time with some of the friends that we know through schools. They're not happily married at all, but the saying is that they're staying together for the kids. Yeah. Well, that's not for the kids. Like, they're not doing anybody a favor. They're just trying to, they're not investing in their own relationships. So the saying is spouse first, then kids. And the reason is, if you love, and you show how much you love and you are invested in your marriage, your kids are just going to be a byproduct of that. Mm-hmm. And the opposite is not true. If you invest and do everything you can in your kids, it doesn't mean your relationship's going to be better. If your relationship isn't better, your kids aren't better.
Right. Cool. Okay. Second one. This one is not a surprise from you, but praise effort and character and not talent. But specifically, and we've talked about that
with athletes, coaches,
exactly.
And
so
employees.
What does that look like with a totally different, much deeper relationship with a kid? And it should be said, your experience now parenting has been from, Maya's 18.
I have an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
So I'm really curious how you've navigated that wide gamut of, that principle with Bodhi is a lot different now than it is with Maya.
Yeah. So this stems from, I always mix these two up. It's either Angela Duckworth and Grit, or Carol Dweck and Mindset. Yeah. So it's all about having like this growth mindset. And they both reference, or at least one of them references, this really famous study where they took elementary school kids and they had them take a test. And when the kids got the test back, they got one of two notes written on the top of it. It either said, "Nice job on this, you're really smart." An equal number of kids got a test back that said, "Nice job on this, you worked really hard." They had kids retake another test that was 2 or 3 grade levels above their education. And the kids that got their feedback that said, "You're really smart," did terrible on the test. They gave up because they couldn't push through and struggle and face. The saying was like, "I'm smart, this is hard, I can't answer this. What's the deal? I'm out." Mm-hmm. Whereas the kids that got the response that said, you worked really hard, they gritted and they grinded through it and they pushed through it and they did phenomenal on the test. Substantially, like astronomically better than the so-called smart kids. And the theory behind that is, the saying behind that is, it's not about intrinsic traits or talents. It's not what you've been gifted with. It's about the behaviors and what you put into it. It's about the work ethic. So if you reward the effort, not the results, you're going to get a much better long-term effect. Now, how does that manifest itself? What does that look like in parenting? Kid comes home and says, I got an A- on my test. And saying, "Nice job, you aced it." You say, "Good job, you worked really hard on that." Mm-hmm. And similarly, if a kid is struggling, it's, "Well, you're not that good. You're not that good at this." It's, "Well, this is how we work hard." The bottom line is, don't ever say you are good at this. If you say you are good at this, they believe everything is inherently born into and they can't grow and develop. Humans are adaptable, changeable, learning machines. That's why we are the dominant species on this planet, that and opposable thumbs. But the biggest thing is how adaptable we are and how much we can learn. If you're putting in a fixed mindset into your kids, you are doing them a major disservice. I grew up with a fixed mindset in a lot of different areas. Yeah. And it's domain specific, meaning like I grew up with a fixed mindset in terms of school. Mm-hmm. I thought that I was not smart. I couldn't read very well. I didn't do well in school at all. So I thought that I wasn't smart. And similarly in sports, if I picked up a sport and did well, wow, you're really good at skiing. You're really good at water sports, windsurfing, whatever it is. Oh, you're not as good at baseball or whatever it is. It's as opposed to rewarding like, wow, you're working really hard at baseball. Good job. Wow, you worked really hard. You put a lot of practice into your skiing. Changes the game drastically for people.
Have you found it to be a challenge since most of the world seems to want to ascribe talent?
Yeah,
or do you feel like you're battling, the kids come home and you've got to sort of rewire?
No, I don't think so. I kind of believe that my kids are in a bubble that I have ultimate influence over. Mm-hmm. That is like something that I intrinsically take the ownership of. I am here to mold my kids. This is a great story. Harley, my youngest, 4-year-old, Harley wanted something. She wanted to play with a Barbie doll or play with a My Little Pony. And she's like, I want My Little Pony. I want My Little Pony. And we're like, Harley, what do you say? Looking for her to say, obviously, please. Yeah. Harley, what do you say? And she just threw out a saying that she goes, suffer in silence. Bodhi got hurt on the trampoline once. Yep. And Bodhi, it's okay. It's okay. Like, Bodhi, it's okay. What do you say? Like when something hurts and he goes, it's when I was in like the Jocko stuff, he gets hurt and he's laying there. He's like, good. It's like,
the brainwashing is working. Love it.
But if you take ownership of that, it's the same deal. Like you have control. Don't default to the teachers. Don't default to their peer group. Don't default to the media or society to raise your kids. It's up to you. And it's as simple as saying a few things repetitively. Mm-hmm. It takes 7 times before they hear it. So after the 7th or 8th time, you're not being a broken record. That's when they're hearing it for the first time. And they're sponges. And if they don't feel like they're hearing it, they're hearing it. Yep. But repetitive behaviors pay off big. Repetitive sayings pay off big.
Mm-hmm. So consistency.
Yes.
This one I think we've talked about a little bit, but no junk in the house. I assume you mean food.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, like, what should I have my kids eat? Yep. It's the same thing as adults should eat. There's no reason to have a kids menu at a restaurant. Yeah. They should eat the same thing we do.
Since I've heard you say that, I pay more attention to the children's menu. It's like mac and cheese and hot dogs or whatever.
Mac and cheese, chicken fingers, pizza, French fries, hot dogs. And then you go to the kids aisle and it's like crap with like fun colors and cartoons.
Yep.
You know, Go-Gurts and cereals, and it's just junk. So can you control what your kids eat 24 hours a day? Absolutely not. They're going to go to a birthday party. There's going to be things at school. But does that mean that you should like default at home too? That sounds ridiculous to me. If they're going to eat at school, like then we should have the Cheez-Its and the Doritos at home. Like it's exact opposite to me. And other parents are like, well, aren't you afraid that they're going to binge it? It's, well, yeah, actually, you're probably right. We should probably have some Marlboro Lights at home too as well.
Because somebody will offer them a cigarette.
So we don't do, and there's no junk in our house.
Yeah.
So someone will be like, I want ice cream. It's like, okay, go for it. If you can find it, go get it. I want a cookie. Okay, go get it. It's like, there is no fights. They don't ask for it. It's literally, we never have a dessert and they never ask for it. It's never, ever asked for in our house. Now they might ask for, what we do have is tortilla chips. Yep. We do have a perfect food bar or something like that. And they'll ask for things like that. Yep. Okay, if those are the treats,
right?
Yeah, if those are the treats, a handful of sweet potato chips, like we're doing okay.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember you saying is when you guys are out and maybe they do have a cake or ice cream or something, and then they sort of inevitably don't feel well.
Yeah,
you sort of reinforce
totally.
Here's why you don't feel well.
Yeah.
And next time next time that they are presented with that, maybe they remember that, oh yeah, the last time I had a huge piece of cake, I did not feel so well.
It's just neuroassociation, right? You associate. It's great if you can do this, like you're saying, brainwashing type thing. But if we let our kids, if we go out and we're within other families and they're having pizza, we let our kids have pizza. After the first or second slice, we say, do you really, we don't say don't have one. We're like, do you really want another one? I don't want you to get a bellyache. Yep. And then they associate like too much pizza with bellyache. Yep. And that's just like by itself. It's like, you can have another piece, go for it, but I just don't want you to get a bellyache.
Yep. So you're just putting those things together.
Yep. And it's the same thing. Like we go out and we were at a baby shower for one of our friends, and obviously there's tons of junk there. There was cookies and cakes and brownies and everything like that. And our youngest, Harley, had a cookie. And then after the cookie, she's like, I want cake. I was like, Harley, babe, you already had a cookie. I don't want you to get a bellyache. She's like, no, I won't get a bellyache. I won't get a bellyache. It's like, all right, let's have a bite of it then. And it's like, okay, well, we don't have a belly. It's, I'm on your side. I'm doing this because I don't want you to get sick. Yep. Inevitably, they do. If they eat too much, and if they do eat too much, what a great opportunity to reinforce this doesn't make you feel good.
We'll be back with more parenting tactics and techniques in just a minute. But first, a quick word of thanks from a few sponsors this week. We're brought to you by OneSkin. Pay attention if you have skin, and if you don't, feel free to skip ahead a minute. OneSkin is the brand bringing science to skincare. Head to oneskin.co, use the code EXCELLENCE to save yourself 15% off any one of their world-class skincare products. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company, focusing on the cellular aspects of aging to keep your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Founded by an all-woman team of scientists, their products are backed by extensive lab and clinical data. They've earned the Skin Safe seal of approval, meaning they're free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can irritate your skin. What sets OneSkin apart is their focus on treating the root cause of aging rather than just the symptoms. They have an amazing peptide, the OS01, that's been proven to reverse skin's biological age by reducing the number of senescent cells up to 50%. If you're ready to take your skincare to the next level, go check out OneSkin. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off when you use the code EXCELLENCE at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co as long as you use the code EXCELLENCE. And after you purchase, let them know you heard about them from us. Give your skin the scientifically proven care it deserves with OneSkin. We are also brought to you this week by the Defender family of vehicles. The Defender, this is a vehicle with a rich history that goes back all the way to 1947, when Maurice Wilks first sketched out the design for what would become a game changer in the automotive world. Today's Defender is a reimagined icon, combining its legendary capability with thoroughly modern design. Head to LandRoverUSA.com/Defender to learn more about the entire series, from the 6-seat Defender 90 to the adventure-loving 110 to the Defender 130, which can fit up to 8 human beings, or, and my math might be wrong here, 1 human and 10 dogs. Could be wrong. The Defender 110 is ready to take on any adventure you throw at it, whether you're facing off-road challenges or simply packing up for a camping trip. It's built for a modern explorer with robust materials, an intuitive driver display, and an award-winning infotainment system to keep you connected. And if you're passionate about sustainability like we are, you'll love that the Defender 110 is also available as an electric hybrid. If you're ready to explore with greater confidence, visit LandRoverUSA.com/Defender today. Adventure awaits. Let's get back to the show. Next one, follow through.
So this is like what I learned from Heather so incredibly well. She's awesome at it. The follow through thing is the same thing with any relationship you have. Everything is built off of trust, right? And the best way to create trust is to follow through, which means I do what I say and I say what I do. To Heather's thing is like, if there's ever a threat, if there's ever this looming punishment, if you don't do this, I'm going to take away your blanket. You're not going to go to your friend's house. We're not going to go watch a movie. We're not going to, whatever it is. It's like a lot of parenting is just threatening. It's like, it's crazy. But that's like when you realize like you have to incentivize the right behaviors, because that's, you're trying to grow someone to become a civilized person in this society. And a lot of it becomes down to the appropriate bargaining chips. So if Harley and Bodhi are not sharing, they're yelling and they're screaming. If you don't share the My Little Ponies, there's gonna be no TV on Saturday morning. And if they don't do it, we follow through. And there's no TV on Saturday morning. And I
assume you remind them on Saturday morning why.
Yeah, or that's probably not a good analogy, because it's, well, let's say it is Saturday morning. Let's say it is Saturday morning, they're crying and they're doing this. And it's, if you do that, guys, I'm turning the TV off. And if they do it one little bit at all, because they're going to test. That's what kids do, especially toddlers. They test. They're trying to figure out the boundaries. And this is what causes bad behavior, is parents say, if you do that, I'm going to turn the TV off. And the kids, inevitably, I guarantee they're going to test. They're going to do it a little bit. Let's say that they're literally like, one person's got the neck and the other person's got the tail of the My Little Pony, and they're screaming. And you say, you take it and you put it into one kid's hands and you say, this is Harley. She got it for her birthday. Bodhi, you can't play with it. If you do, I'm going to turn off the TV. I promise you, he's going to reach and he's just going to touch it. He's going to poke it just because I find the boundaries. If you let that slide, you can't be trusted because your word is gone. If you turn the TV off right then, and there's going to be it's going to be an exponentially worse situation in the short run. It's going to be harder at that 10 minutes. There's going to be more emotions flaring up, but in the long run, they believe what you say. And now I know that there is a hard line. It's black or white. Dad and mom are not gray. And if we test, it's going to go. And I slide sometimes. And I slide and I go into the gray area a lot. And I'm staring at him and he'll touch it. I'll just stand there like, Bodhi, like, why would you? I just said that. Like, what are you doing, buddy? I don't want to punish you. I want you to watch TV. I want you to be able to do this. It's so hard to do it. But if you slide and you slide and you slide, but then, and you realize, like, I got to get back to the hard line. And once you get back to the hard line, it's amazing what happens in such a short period of time.
The thing that I think is really interesting, that is you as the parent have to be willing to say, I'm going to enforce that, even though it's going to make the next half hour of my life
make it way
harder than before.
Here's the other thing is, you don't want to, it's better to, I can't think of the word, but threaten. It's better. What's the word? I don't know if there's
it's promise to a larger degree.
Yeah. So it's better to make the promise in things that are not going to be intrinsically valuable or beneficial to them. So experiences are really good for kids. So it's better not to take away experiences. So don't say you're not going to the birthday party. Don't make threats you're not going to follow through on. Don't say we're not going to the Cape this summer. You're going to go to the Cape this summer. So if he does it and you, do it on things that you can follow through with, and say, you're not going to get your applesauce. You're not going to, I'm going to take away your blanket. you're not going to watch TV, whatever it is. But don't say you can't play with your friends. You can't go to the birthday party. You can't go on the ski trip. Like those things you're not gonna fall through on anyway. So don't make those threats, and don't take away experiences. Take away what Heather's great at is, Bodhi, we were just down the Cape and she got him this 100-piece army set. So whenever he does something bad, she's like, I'm taking one of your guys.
so his army is diminished.
So now he has got an army. Now he has an army of like 94. And she got him this 2 days ago. So, and he's like, no, but she goes home and she, in front of him, takes it. And it's like, he's like, crap.
He's losing forces.
Yes.
All right. Next one is be open and vulnerable, but never complain.
This is the same type of thing as whether you're in management or you're a coach or any leadership position. Vulnerability creates greater levels of trust.
Yep.
It also opens the people up underneath you to behave in really positive ways because they're not afraid to expose weaknesses, which we all have, or expose truths, or expose areas of question. So if you put yourself up on the pedestal and you're the all-knowing, all-being, utilitarian, godlike figure, like you're unrelatable. But if you are a parent and when you make mistakes, you tell them like, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Whether it's like walking around and you step on your kid's toe and like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like that, obviously that's an easy one.
Yep.
I didn't mean to, but it's so easy to like not be vulnerable, to try to be bulletproof. But if you are open, honest, and vulnerable, you will encourage really strong behaviors. And this goes right through like corporate management or coaching an athletic team or whatever it is. Be a human being and show them how human you are. But because you're being vulnerable, because you're being open, because you're being honest, doesn't give you a license to complain, particularly about other people. Never complain about other people in front of your kids. Never complain about, especially other family members, your wife or your spouse. Never complain about the teachers at school. Never complain about the other kids who are their friends, because that's going to lead down a road that they then become this type of thing where they are going to mirror your actions and they're going to look at everything. Imagine the opposite. Imagine if they never heard a bad word, you speak a bad word about anyone ever, as opposed to you just like having a conversation with your wife when you're driving the car and you're complaining about your kids' teachers in front of them. Now, how is your kids going to act with your teachers then when they go back? Because they're like, Mom and Dad said teacher doesn't know what they're doing, that they're not paying attention, that they are X, Y, Z. If you never make those comments, you don't open up that Pandora's box.
Sympathize.
I somehow stumbled into this by mistake. And then I came across some research later on that supported it. So toddlers, like 2-year-olds, are crazy to deal with. You have a 1.5-year-old, right? It's coming. And they talk about the terrible 2s. I think the 3s might be even like crazier. You can't rationalize. There's no rationalization. So I got to this point where my toddler would be like, whatever. Like I'm using My Little Pony all the time. But it's like, I want My Little Pony. I want My Little Pony. And we took it away for some reason. And instead of being like, Harley, we took away your My Little Pony because you were fighting with Bodhi. Do you remember doing that? I want My Little Pony. Harley, if you just listen to me, babe, you're going to get it back if you just stop crying. If you stop crying, I will give you My Little Pony. I want My Little Pony. You cannot rationalize. Instead, you sympathize. And I came across this research, which it's like the rational brain versus the lizard brain and the subconscious mind. And the best book I've come across in this is a book called Never Split the Difference, written by a hostage FBI negotiator who's turned it into business negotiations. And in business negotiation, we were told always humans are rational. We are rational beings, and we've tried to find the win-win scenario. No, we are not rational, and you win-win is probably win-lose. It's instead what you want to do is sympathize and just tell the person you understand where they're coming from. And once a person feels like you understand them, then they will listen. So I came across this like by mistake with Harley. She's like, I want My Little Pony. And instead of being like, if you stop crying, I'll give it to you. It was, I want My Little Pony. I was like, you want My Little Pony? Yes, I want My Little Pony. I know, Harley, you want My Little Pony. I do. You want My Little Pony, don't you? You want My Little Pony back? Okay, I know you want your My Little Pony. And she's off playing with Barbie. It's if you just go down that road of just literally telling them, I understand you. And the way they talk about this in the business negotiation is you repeat back. It's called mirroring. You say things back to them, and then you label emotions. You actually tell them what they're feeling. It seems like you don't feel like my business can fall through on our promises. It seems like you have some questions about our pricing. It seems like you've experienced this type of situation before. And like when people are like, yes, I have. You understand me. It seems like you're a man of great faith. Yes, I am. It's like, All of a sudden, now we're on level footing ground. That stuff is away. This person understands me. I don't even care what the deal is.
Right.
I feel like you're going to put my best interest in first.
It feels similar to something we've talked about before, which is sincere listening or active listening, or very, very similar.
It's a lot of the same stuff. Yeah. So from body language to eye contact,
even in tactful conflict resolution, to a degree, is very similar to that.
But that labeling, that sympathetic listening, like repeating back to people, telling them what they want, especially for toddlers who you will not ever be able to rationalize with a toddler.
Logic into them.
There's no logic.
Yep.
So instead, repeat back their emotion to them. You're upset because.
Yep. Have you had any experience with the older kids in a version of that that's a little necessarily probably needs to be a little more nuanced?
Yeah, it's just not as exaggerated.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not crying about My Little Pony. They're
mine might be, but
yeah, right. We're lucky enough that our 18 and 14-year-olds are
studs.
Like not normal people. They're like Maya's working as my assistant coach this year, and she's one of the best coaches I've ever had on my staff at 18 years old.
Yeah.
Jonah is my 14-year-old. I have literally in 14 years never seen him upset. Like crazy weird really stuff. Cool. Besides being a toddler.
Yep.
Yeah, being a toddler, every toddler gets upset.
Next one is no quitting.
Okay, so this is, again, the grit, perseverance, fortitude, all that stuff. But it also has to do with creating a passion. And people are like, I just want my kids. I believe this. If you can get your kids to be really good at one thing, there's so much benefit to that because there's so much self-confidence. And then if they're good at one thing, they learn what hard work looks like and how.
What age are you thinking is when you?
As they're getting in through high school is where I believe. But as young kids, it's important for them to try a bunch of things because you might not like gymnastics and you might not like jiu-jitsu and you might not like ballet and you might not like swimming. You might not like soccer. But if you let people just start and stop, you're creating a quit mentality, which like once anything gets hard, I'm going to stop. And is like, you can stop anything you want to do, but you got to see it through the season. You committed to this. You can't stop until the season's over. If you signed up for T-ball, you're going to every T-ball practice. I know you don't want to go today. You made a commitment. This is what we're going to do. At the end of the season, if you don't want to do it, go for it. There's a great, I'm forgetting her name. This is bad, but she's the most decorated U.S. gymnast ever. It's not Mary Lou Retton. It's much more, it's not Simone Biles. I can't remember her name. Nadia something. Anyway, she would come home from gymnastics practice and her dad was her coach, and she would come back and she'd be like, I just hate gymnastics. I hate it. I'm never going back. And mom would say, you don't have to go back. You don't have to go back. You don't ever have to do gymnastics again, as long as you go back tomorrow. And then she would go back and it's always tomorrow. And it was always tomorrow. You can quit as long as you go back tomorrow. And it's that kind of mentality. And like all of a sudden, you don't allow your kids to quit in the middle of something. You create some skills and they start to get better at it. And those skills can develop into a passion. If it's a passion, it's something they can do and where they can blend. And here's kind of the idea behind this is, I feel like I've been lucky enough to create this blend where I have really good opportunities. I have some skill set and some talents from the years of pounding on the craft. And it's a passion. It's a thing I love in terms of what I do. If you create that for your kid where they are in a job that they go into in their early, late, mid 20s, whatever it is, or even in their early 30s, they can find that where they can blend the line between work and play. To me, that's like the ultimate success in life. If work feels like play, and you are psyched for Monday morning and you are like Friday and Thursday and Saturday all feel the same, like that's a great life. The way you do that is by getting ridiculously good at something that you can make a living doing. Now, whether that's painting or violin or it's computer programming or it's soccer, whatever it is, get your kids to be really good at something because I think there's so much value that goes into that work ethic and the confidence and what it means to have a passion.
And so when you see something resembling a passion in a younger kid, maybe early teens, do you talk to them about, let's try to focus on this thing that you seem really passionate about? Or how open and honest about that process and the value of that process are you? Or is it like, you and Heather say, he seems to be really, into photography, and let's make sure we keep giving him opportunities to do that? Or is it both?
Or neither. Yeah. I mean, honestly, yes, I think it's all those things. Yeah. It's probably something that with our oldest Maya, we didn't have to do because she found it. And she was so from age 8, she was the stud athlete, yep. Right? She was the best on her. Every team she did, she was the best. So we didn't have to do that. With Jonah, I think we kind of thought that was going to happen as well. We knew it wasn't going to be sports, but we thought it would happen with something else. And one of the reasons I'm kind of big into this right now is no quit is because we didn't do it with him. Mm-hmm. And he started something and he stopped. He started something. And once he got fairly good, and he's really talented. Once he got fairly good at CrossFit, he stopped. Once he got fairly good at magic, he stopped. Once he got fairly good at piano, he stopped. Once he got fairly good at writing music, he stopped. We didn't allow him.
That's the story of my life for a long.
Yeah. So it's we didn't push. We didn't pursue. We didn't look for the next opportunity. And now he's going into high school. And now I think that's time to push into one thing that he's shown some interest in. Because most of us are not born with a passion. We find it. Yeah. And if you don't find it, you develop it. And it's a matter of doubling down on your strengths. We talk a lot in this about exposing weaknesses and working on your weaknesses because it's inherent to what we do for our athletes. Yep. In terms of being exceptional at something, it's about doubling down on your strengths. Yeah. And that's, I think, is really important for kids.
Yeah. Thank you for listening this week. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Hope you have been enjoying the slight format evolution that we are in the midst of, that we're at the start of. I would love to invite you to join us over on the premium side of the podcast, www.chasingexcellence.email. You'll get ad-free episodes, more conversation, more content. We're doing some challenges over there as well. It is a fun time and simply the best place and the best way to continue chasing excellence alongside Ben and I. The link is in the show notes for easy clickability. We invite you. We welcome you. We thank you for checking it out. Ben and I will be back early next week for a brand new episode of Chasing Excellence.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.